Way hey, 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 way hey, way Oh, Hidada J. Lee, welcome, welcome. I'll come before you today. We're going to talk about, let's see, Uyoayelvdi ale Uyohuselv, grief and loss, part 1. Our readings from today come from the Hebrew Bible here. We're going to do Nikanogida Psalm at Psalm 34, a praise for deliverance from trouble, of David when he feigned madness before Abimelech so that he drove him out and he went away. I will bless God at all times. God, His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul makes its boast in God. Let the humble hear and be glad. O magnify God with me, and let us exalt God's name together. I sought God, and God answered me, and delivered me from all my fears. Look at God, and be radiant, so your faces shall never be ashamed. This poor soul cried, and was heard by God, and was saved from every trouble. The angels of God encamps around those who fear God and delivers them. O taste and see that God is good. Happy are those who take refuge in Yahweh. O fear God, you, God's holy ones. For those who fear God have no want. The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek God lack no good thing. Come, O children, listen to me. I will teach you to the fear of God. Which of you desires life and covets many days to enjoy good? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of God are on the righteous, and God's ears are open to their cry. The face of God is against evildoers, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. When the righteous cry for help, God hears, and rescues them from all their troubles. God is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but God rescues them from all of them. God keeps all their bones. Not one of them will be broken. Evil brings death to the wicked, and those who hate the righteous will be condemned. God redeems the life of the servants. None of those who take refuge in God will be condemned. And our reading from the New Testament is from Magu. That's Matthew 5, 1 through 12. Also known as Beatitudes, which is, this is, Beatitudes are very popular. These are known commonly as the blessings of Jesus upon the people. Edoda spoke to David and gave him promises and commitments that were being shared. And Jesus extended those promises and commitments and blessings, which Edoda shared with David and others. And Jesus extends those blessings to those of today. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Life is loss, and loss is life. In the reading in the Beatitudes, Jesus states, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." How? How are those who are suffering grief and loss being comforted? In your church? In your community? How exactly are you being comforted? Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I can tell you that in my ministry and the work that I do, one of the things that I focus on is providing grief and loss groups and grief and loss individual counseling. And so this is an opportunity, in light of everything that's been going on, to help you take that journey through grief and loss to healing. So I wanted to put this together and put it out there, and to help you to understand exactly what grief and what loss is, and how, working through it, you can come to a place of healing. And so first of all, let me start by defining a couple of things. One of the things we have to understand is there is a huge difference between sympathy and empathy. You know, when you sympathize with somebody, it's because you are feeling something for them. Usually in the context of grief and loss, we say, well, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry that you're suffering. If people are sick, I'm sorry you're sick. You have sympathy for them, you know. Maybe you haven't been through what they're going through, but it still makes you feel sad, and so you sympathize. Then again, there's empathy. Empathy is recognizing a shared connection with other human beings, and animals too, that you have experienced in a similar way what they have experienced. And so you feel what they are feeling. You are reminded of what it was like to suffer that grief from the loss that you had. That is sharing of empathy. That is that connection that we all have in common as human beings. Because in our lives, we know, beyond the shadow of any doubt, we have experienced loss in our life. And we will experience more loss in the days to come. And loss comes in many forms. People often think mostly about death as being the most significant loss that they have experienced. It's usually the most recent loss, especially as you get older. You experience more and more family members and friends and loved ones who have died. Yet loss comes in a lot of different forms. It can come as early back as your childhood. In fact, the losses you experience in your childhood determine how you're going to respond to your losses for the rest of your life without some kind of intervention. They also affect your ability to be emotionally present, available, and balanced in a healthy way in the here and now. So when you think about loss, loss can include loss of trust of your primary caregiver. Something might have happened when you were a child. You may have witnessed some domestic violence, alcoholism, drug addiction, something bad in your early childhood years that made you afraid of your parents. And so you have difficulty trusting adults. and trusting others, basically. That can carry with you through the rest of your life, your entire lifespan. You may have had to move when you were a child, and that is a huge loss for children. Loss of community, loss of familiarity, loss of comfort zone, loss not only of the community and friends of where you were, but also the expectations, the hopes and the dreams that come with being in that particular community. You may have lost a pet, a loved one, family members, friends, somebody moved away or whatever. I grew up in the military, so we moved a lot. I experienced this over and over again, the loss of all of that expectation, and also I've experienced many times when I was younger the loss of a pet. And so now pets are very important to me. So there are many, many forms of loss. Loss of innocence, loss of hopes and dreams are always attached to everything that we lose. And as we get older, the loss of trust in our leaders, loss of trust in our church, loss of trust in, the principles that we are supposed to abide by. A lot of things can be lost. A lot of things can be lost. For example, my dad was a Vietnam vet, and his dad, my grandfather on my dad's side, he was a minister there in Huntington, West Virginia. And he was a minister of 3rd Street Baptist Church in Huntington, West Virginia, Free Will Baptist Church. And so my dad, on the other hand, came back from Vietnam, and after a very short amount of time became completely and utterly disillusioned with Protestant Christian institution. Became absolutely convinced that Protestant Christians do not speak for Jesus. He was utterly convinced of this throughout his entire life. He became an agnostic. He believed in God. He did not believe in Protestant Christians. He did not believe that they were practicing the teachings of Jesus in North America. And that's sad. It influenced his entire life. And it was all because of what he experienced, the treatment that he received from Christianity, from Christians in North America in the course of his life. And so, when you think about all that loss and how it can impact you in subtle ways and in dramatic ways, it can literally change your values and beliefs. It can also change the quality of your relationships for your entire life. So we think about grief and loss and its significant impact, and we realize, holy crap, this is serious stuff, and we do need to do something about it. And so I'm going to give you some tools here. Now, I have a workbook here. I originally found it through the VA, at the Portland VA. It's just, it was a little workbook that was put together by somebody. It wasn't really all that great. And it gave me the inspiration to do it right. And so I put it together. It's not intended for resale. I'm posting it to Four Winds Native American Ministries webpage and Sacred Hoop Native American Ministries web pages. And so you will be able to access it. It's 21 pages. You'll have the opportunity to access it and print it out for yourself so that you have it available to you. And this is the cover. This is what it looks like. It's called A Journey Through Grief and Loss, an 8-week process. And so I encourage you to download the workbook, either use it online or print it out and have it handy. Included in this are 3 tools. One is called an emotions wheel. Most people, as they grow up, are not taught how to identify their feelings. Well, as a clinician and as a minister and chaplain, I know that there are 6 basic emotions that all human beings share. These are sad, mad, scared, joyful, powerful, and peaceful. And out of these come other emotions, and out of them come other emotions, And it varies based on degree and intensity. People aren't generally taught how to identify their feelings, especially around the different kinds of losses. The number of emotions that people can experience in different kinds of situations is myriad. And what confuses men mostly is that there are more than one feeling going on at the same time. It's like, oh no, what do I feel? I can't sort this out, you know. That's a guy thing. Women tend to be able to sort that out a little easier, at least most women I know. And so included in this is an emotions wheel, and as you do the work in the process, because there is homework, part of this process includes homework, and as you do the work, I encourage you to keep going back and identifying your feelings as you continue to work through this process. To help you deal with any stress or anxiety that may come with this, I'm including what's called finger labyrinths. There's two of them. One of them is called the Cretan finger labyrinth and the Chartres finger labyrinth. That French word, I always have trouble with that. Spanish, Cherokee, English, I'm good to go. French, I don't know what it is. Anyway, I've even been to France and I still can't speak it right. But anyway, these finger labyrinths will help you to be able to trace these. Now, the Cretan labyrinth has been around forever. It was originally developed out of the story of the ancient Greek story of the myth of the Minotaur there in Crete. The Chartres labyrinth was developed by the Catholic Church in Chartres, France. It's a monastery. They learned a long time ago, and nobody really understands how this works, even today, but tracing or walking a labyrinth or tracing it with your finger helps to balance the energy in the mind, helps to balance the energy in the body, helps the healing process. We don't fully understand how or why, we just know it works. So I encourage you to use it. It's great for stress management. These are the tools that I provide you to help you in this process. So we're going to get into part one here of this, and it's broken down. So we're going to take our time with this, and so I don't want to overload you with the YouTube thing here. The goals and outcomes of this program of the Grief and Loss program are to help participants learn about grief and to help participants learn how to live with loss in a healthy way. First and foremost, we have to seek to understand what is grief. There is a goals and outcome list here, so you'll know what we're going to be doing. This is the introduction part. Participants will be able to verbalize their personal understanding of grief, and participants will be able to recognize losses they have experienced throughout life and their grief responses. How in your past have you responded to grief? Everyone responds differently. Everyone experiences grief uniquely. No two people are alike in that respect, and there is no set timeline for overcoming grief or healing from grief. Everyone goes at their own pace. So there's no right or wrong, good or bad way to do this. It is important that you do the process. So the overview, I talked about the finger labyrinths already and the motion wheel already. So expectations, the importance of doing the work to the grieving and healing process. The memories of your losses are never going to leave. I won't try to fool you about that. I won't beat around the bush about that. I won't give you any illusions about that. You will always remember the losses you have experienced. You can't change that. It is the historical events in your life that have occurred that cannot be altered. We don't have that power. What you do have the power to do is to change how you feel about those losses. In this process, we will help you to be able to change how you view about these losses, how you feel about the losses. So what is grief? Well, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the definition of grief is deep sadness caused especially by someone's death, a cause of deep sadness, trouble, or annoyance. Now, grief often includes the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual response or responses to loss or losses, and also the loss of the hopes and dreams imagined and planned for prior to your loss. I want you to pause and think about that for a minute. All of the person, not only is the person gone, but the hopes and the dreams and the plans that you had for your future are all gone. And so the process of moving through the grief helps you to heal from that. And because we are human, we each experience loss and grief, and we experience it differently from one another. There's no healthy way to avoid facing loss and the grief that comes with it. And that's a really important point that I want to bring up, and especially in this introduction, is that in modern society, and I wish I didn't have to say this, and this is unfortunate, that in the vast majority of Protestant Christian churches, the experience of grief in the church, in the safe space, is not welcome. You're encouraged to stuff it down and to act joyful, be upbeat, no matter what you're going through. You hear a lot of cliches of, oh, your loved one is in heaven now, oh, they're better off where they are, at least they're not suffering anymore, on and on and on it goes. And these don't help, not one little bit. And it's okay to acknowledge that. They don't help. What you should be getting is the healing process. And that's what we're offering to you now, is to guide you in through this process. I also want to take a moment before I get into exercise 1 here, is to let you know that on the front of this workbook are the email pages and the web pages and email addresses that you can, if you have questions, you have stories, concerns that you'd like to share, I will do my best to respond to each and every one of them. When we accept that grief is a natural response to loss, that no two people experience grief the same, and that there is no set time to limit on getting over it, then we have the opportunity to develop a greater understanding of ourselves and the grieving process. And the first step we need to do in that is do a loss inventory. Many people try to dissociate themselves from their losses in their minds, compartmentalize them, I guess is a technical word. It's like you pretend like it never happened. How many of you have done that? How many of you wish something could have been done differently? There's no quick fix to this. There's no easy answer to it. And the more you stuff that down, the more tense you become, the more emotionally unavailable you become, because you're spending all your time and energy and effort trying to control your emotions. Well, the catch-22 with that is that when you cut yourself off from your feelings, from sharing your love and compassion and support, you cut yourself off from receiving love and compassion and support. It's a catch-22. So in order to truly be emotionally available and present in the moment, to experience joy, to move past surviving into thriving, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. I've heard more and more people, how you doing today? Oh, I'm surviving. That speaks volumes to me when I hear somebody say that. First thing, okay, they haven't done their grief and loss work. I know it right away. Body language tells me a lot about people. And I really, I spend a lot of time, energy, and effort learning grief and loss counseling. And so I got pretty good at recognizing when people are stuffing down their grief and their loss, when they haven't dealt with it. So it's time to take a look at all this. And through the loss inventory, we're going to look at your childhood first. I'd like you to go back, think about from the time from ages 1 to 12, as far back as you remember. I know a lot of people can't remember that far back, 5, 6 years old is about as far back as most people can go. But I want you to go back as far as you can and remember what kind of losses did you experience. For example, my dog ran away, or we moved to another house or town, whatever, there was all kinds of things that could have happened. All kinds of things. And make a list. Make a list of all the losses you can remember, knowing that as you continue through this process, you're going to remember more and you can go back and add to them. Same with your teen losses. I want you to take your time and work through this. And then your adult losses. And this can include a lot of different losses, especially as adult. Not only loved ones, divorce, separation, whatever. There's all kinds of losses. Whatever you feel is significant to you, that's what's important. Make the list. Use the reverse if you need to. Nobody else is going to see this, just you. And then when you make that list, I'd like you to identify the 3 most significant losses in your life, the losses that stand out to be the most significant to you. There's no right, wrong, good, bad way to do this. You just, oh yeah, this really made a difference. I mean, this impacted me even today. Bam, bam, bam. Make the list. And when you make your list, hold on to that. In the next one, next part 2, I'm going to help you, or show you how you can move through that in a good way. And I want to also point out that, Jesus promised that the Comforter, Adonabel, the Holy Spirit, will always be with us, especially as we walk through our journey of grief to healing. I remind you of this at this time to let you know that you are not alone. And I encourage you to send us an email to let us know that you're working on this program. If you have any questions, concerns, prayer requests, we will be with you to the best of our abilities. So I look forward to working with you and being with you and sharing with you in this journey process. And if it gets real intense, overwhelming to you, I encourage you to reach out to your local congregation or community. Most hospices offer grief counseling. You can contact them, or a therapist near you who has grief and loss experience, and continue to do this work. What? Uyoyaelvdi.